This next speaker explores a topic that isn't talked about enough, but is a pervasive issue in society. Here to talk about consent, please welcome Senior Madison Horn.
I am 18 years old. I love going to the beach or on nature walks. My favorite color is blue. I really enjoy trying all kinds of food, especially ice cream. And when I was 15 years old, I was sexually assaulted. Now, I never thought that I would go on stage and talk about my experience so publicly because I've been told time and time again that sexual assault is shameful and something that no one should ever know about me. Well, here I am. I had the fundamental awareness that sexual assault was prevalent in today's society. In 2014, I began to see women come forward in what would eventually become the Me Too movement. And I had heard the statistic from the CDC that 1 in 3 women would be sexually assaulted. But never in a million years did I think that that would be me. I have been told that being sexually assaulted is shameful, that it makes me an untouchable, that no one would ever want to be with me because I'm damaged. Not being able to open up about it has put up many boundaries in any type of relationship that I have. I constantly wonder whether I can get close to someone or not, and whether they'll be okay with what I have to say or not. I wonder why I feel like I'm less than, even though I know what happened is not my fault, which quite honestly sucks, and it gets really frustrating because I want people to see me for me, not this terrible thing that has happened. The emotional recovery was brutal. In the beginning, I couldn't eat, sleep, or even go to school. I was completely shut down. I couldn't open up to my friends and family about how I was really feeling. So many days I was so frustrated. I would like to say that I'm better now, but that's not entirely true. Sometimes I get triggered, a word, an image, something I hear, and if I could only tell the people I care about the most why I'm acting so strangely, everything would be so much better. But I get so scared that I'll lose someone if they know the truth, which, as you can imagine, telling you all right now is terrifying. But it's necessary. According to the CDC, 2 in 3 high school students will have sex before they graduate. And of those high school students, 80% of them will have sex before they go to college. Before they graduate college, sorry. These numbers are staggering and show the importance of why we need to understand why consent is so important. So what is consent? Consent in general is just permission for something to happen or something to be done. Planned Parenthood defines sexual consent as the agreement to participate in a sexual activity. But what does that agreement really contain? Consenting and asking for consent are all about setting boundaries for yourself and doing things that you want to do, not what you don't want to. Without consent, sexual activity is sexual assault or rape. Consent can be summed up pretty simply. It is freely given, it is reversible, it is informed, it is enthusiastic, and it is specific. Seems simple enough, right? Unfortunately, consent is riddled with gray areas and uncertainty. So how do we consent? When we say consent is freely given, it means it is a choice that we make unimpaired and with no pressure and manipulation without being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. When we learned how to drive, we were all told it is never okay to drink and drive. And we all thought, that makes sense. Drinking and driving is bad because our judgment is impaired, our reflexes are slower, and we can hurt ourselves and others. The same is true with sex. It is never okay to have sex with someone under the influence of alcohol. Even though it may seem like a good idea, partially because our inhibitions are lowered, we can actually really end up hurting someone or even hurting ourselves. No one wants to wake up and feel violated because they weren't in control. And no one wants to wake up and know they violated someone else because they weren't in this right state of mind. Consent is a choice we make unimpaired without any pressure so that we are comfortable with what we are doing. When we say consent is reversible, it means if at any time we are uncomfortable, it is perfectly okay to say, Actually, you know what? I don't want to do this. Your partner will understand. Sure, they may be a little disappointed, but they'll stop. And if they don't understand and they get upset, then you shouldn't be with them anyways because they don't respect you. Also, just because you've done something before doesn't mean you have to do it again. Each and every time we engage in any sexual activity, it is so important that we ask for consent. When we say consent is informed, it means that we have the entire picture. If someone says that they use birth control or will use protection and they don't, that is not consent. You didn't have the entire story. You will never undergo any type of medical procedure without having a clear, confident conversation with your healthcare provider and signing the proper documents. As with any choice we make about our body, it is important that we have the entire picture so that we don't get hurt. Consent is enthusiastic. If you're not like, yes, I'm so down, and you're more like, I guess I'll do this, that is not consent. And you need to let your partner know that you're not really interested. Consenting is really important that you're enthusiastic because you need to check in with yourself. Your subconscious knows best. No one knows you like you know yourself. When we say consent is specific, it means that each and every time you want to do anything more than what you are already doing, that you need to ask for more consent. This way, you protect both yourself and others. Consent is a thoughtful, comfortable choice that we make when we have the whole picture and knowing deep down that it's perfectly okay to say no, even if we've already said yes. Either you and your partner can do this, and you must respect that. And it is critical to remember that we have the final say over anything that happens with our body. Despite all these reminders, some things teenagers often forget are that it is never okay to have sex with someone under the influence of drugs and alcohol. It is illegal. And you can go to jail or go on the sex offender registry for life. Also, in California, the legal age of consent is 18. So as is clear, in any intimate situation, it is essential that both you and your partner are ready for what is about to happen, and especially comfortable. I know asking for consent can be super awkward, but it is so important so no one's boundaries are violated. So how do we consent? Consent and asking for consent can be awkward, but many intimate situations can also be awkward. So if you're not mature enough to ask for consent, then you're definitely not mature enough to have sex. Some really simple ways you can ask are just to say, is this okay? Or do you want to go farther? There's tons of different ways in which we can ask for consent, but these are two really easy ways to make sure that no one's boundaries are violated. I wish I could go back in time and have the person who hurt me understand the basics of consent, because maybe then it wouldn't have happened. But unfortunately, I can't go back. I can only go forward and help to educate people about how to respect others and protect themselves. I really appreciate you all listening to what is still considered a very taboo topic in this day and age. However, it could not be more important because there have been so many people who have been in uncomfortable sexual situations, and even worse, who have been in situations where they were violated and they don't even know it. Consenting is critical in developing meaningful relationships. It starts with the tiniest of choices we make in our daily lives, cultivating the mindset of being an informed decision maker, respecting not only others, but respecting ourselves. Thank you.